Jared is the Vice President of Sales at Washington Capital Partners, one of the largest, if not the largest, like mid-Atlantic hard money lenders.
Still hanging in there, yep.
That's amazing. So I appreciate you taking your time and coming out here and sharing with our group here tonight and online as well. Yeah. The question kind of today is going to be like, where to find the money, right? I kind of mentioned on a Facebook, little announcement, Facebook Live I did today to promote our event, that, there's all these late night infomercials. You can get into real estate with none of your own money and all that kinds of stuff. And, there's some truth to it, but like there's some details that are also important to kind of know. And Naya was kind enough in months previous to kind of talk about how you can kind of get in with another way of not bringing a ton of your own money to the equation. But we're going to hear from you, Jared, because you're certainly the expert with regards to lending and how to find, where to find the money, and there's lots of different options. So we'll kind of get into that. But before we do, clicking through the slides here, let me just do some quick intros. I'll do mine. I'll ask you yours. I'll ask you your story, and we'll get into some other things. So my name's Matt Magel. I am the founder of CAZA Gainesville and this grid, CAZA Gainesville. My primary focus is in helping regular folks buy, sell, invest in real estate. Since 2016, my primary focus has been the Gainesville geographic area. So I live here. I own a number of long-term rentals in Gainesville and one in Bristow. So I love this area. I live here, play here, work here, and it's been kind of where I've put my energy in, becoming the real estate agent of choice in this area. I run this group as just one of the 5 or 6 different things that I do to continue to kind of be visible in the community that I want to serve. So for those of you who live in the Western Prince William County area, who maybe check this out online, come out in person, and would love to kind of meet you and teach you similar, different topics, but similar format to what we'll go through today. What do we want to accomplish with you? Just basically, if you know of anybody looking to buy, sell, and invest that is in the Western Prince William County area, I'd love to make that their acquaintance. But also, if you have any just questions about real estate in general, I love talking about it. And people is always kind of saying, "Oh man, I'm sorry I took so much of your time." I'm like, "Do you have more time? We could talk about it some more." Because I just love talking about real estate. And how you connect with me? Probably friend me on Facebook is the easiest, or become a member of the Grid CAZA Gainesville. You can message me through the meetup.com app. You can contact me on my cell phone. My cell phone is also on my Facebook page, so you can go on my Facebook page, friend me, and find all my stuff. Jared, tell us just a little bit, quick intro. Who are you? And then the follow-up is going to be, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get into this?
Awesome. My name is Jared Fosnot. I'm the VP of Sales at Washington Capital Partners. We're the largest in the Mid-Atlantic as far as like hard money lending, private lending, whatever you'd like to call it. As far as like a day-to-day, I'm running I'm helping to run operations. I run the sales team, obviously. My main focus is how do we grow our company and maintain and grow our company, especially in tough markets like we're in today. So that's a lot of my focus is running the business, and then secondarily, I also still today, I still sell a lot. So
source deals and so on.
Yeah, I source deals. I do a lot of things that any loan officer, might do. So really, I do too many things.
How long have you been with Washington Capital
Partners? Crazy workaholic.
Partners. How long have you been there now?
I've been there a little over 8 years now.
Okay.
So 2015, I think June 2015. Yeah, a little over 8.
And they started couple years before that?
Yeah, I mean, they had been around for, I think, 12 years, but they really weren't doing much.
Yeah.
It was like Danny and Leo's little side project while they were flipping also.
Right.
And I think 2015 we did something like 20 million roughly in origination for the year. And then as recently as last year, we were close to 400 million in origination. So really pretty went gangbusters on all that, and a lot of growth, and Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the US, and a lot of honors and distinctions, all cool stuff. But yeah, it all boils down to relationships, and we approach every single relationship as trying to be advisors and help people learn and have fun while we're doing it. So it's been an awesome ride.
when you came in, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit, but I kind of asked you a little bit about how you got into Washington Bars, but just
the backstory.
Yeah, be more general. Like,
little bit
what's your story? Like, where'd you grow up? School, whatever.
Born in Dallas, but grew up in Leesburg actually.
Cowboys fan or Commanders fan?
Cowboys fan. I know I've got a lot of hate for that over the years, but
close.
Growing up in a Cowboys household, it was tough not to. And
in the
'90s,
in
the '90s, a lot of championships and whatnot. But grew up in Leesburg. My father was in construction. He was a project manager. Worked for like Trammell Crow, Lerner, a lot of the local names of big developers, and so I was kind of always around that. I was always on his job sites growing up as a kid, helping him out and stuff like that, and so that kind of naturally got imparted. I didn't really have any interest in real estate until I kind of got to law school and realized how terrible being a lawyer was going to be.
Really?
Yeah, I had the epiphany, halfway through law school. This is not really what I want to do, and how do I pivot out of this into something else? And it's just so funny, like how life works, and you go down this path, and you're so dead set on it, you're like, yeah, this is what I think I want, and then things change. So
you went straight into law school out of undergrad?
I took a year. I went and I traveled, and I lived down in Peru. Actually, I did microfinancing work, and I just volunteered for a while.
That's cool.
And kind of like lived off the grid and just had an interesting year.
For sure.
And then applied for law school. Went to law school at George Mason, and started down that path. And then, like I said, towards the end of law school, I was like, how do I not do the partner slog for 10, 15 years and just hate my life? And some of it was like discovering that in law school, like so many people as lawyers were unhappy, and I could see why. Towards the end of law school, I started just developing my interest in real estate, more so on the development side, less on like the tract building side, which is what my dad was more involved in. And I went and I made a list of all the developers I could find, and I just sent out as many job applications, and I even pulled up and walked into people's offices and literally just kind of a ground assault just to try to get any kind of job. And that's where I ran into Bobby and Mark at Walnut Street Development. Those guys had just finished their first phase of their business, which was more on large multifamily stuff. They got out right before the crash in '08, and then they reinvented themselves as a single family flipping, developing company. And I started there. I did some legal work as their general counsel, and then I pivoted into the acquisition side.
Let me go back one step real quick. So you're done with law school. You're going to go blitzkrieg, this thing in development.
Yeah.
What were the kind of positions, or what did you want your day to look like when you were like, all right, I'm not doing law. I want to get into this development. Like, what were you going after? What did you want to do?
I just knew that I wanted to put myself in that industry. I really didn't have, I had been just all law for like 15 years. So I studied real estate and securities law in law school. So, I had a general idea. I wanted to work for a developer, and I didn't know if it was specifically acquisitions or what within that. But
was it the creative aspect of being part of building something, or was it the financial?
What I learned
upside?
Yeah, what I learned later was I'm a salesperson through and through, and I didn't really know that until I got into that role, and I really enjoyed just putting deals together.
Got it.
And so I'm a deal guy. I'm obsessive about chasing deals, and just the whole process of putting that all together and winning a client and going through that sales process is just exhilarating, for lack of a better word. And so, as so many people are, I feel like addicted to their real estate deals. And
so you get with Walnut.
So I get with them, and we go. I think I bought over that full time a little over 500 different properties personally, and then oversaw the other salespeople on the team that were buying lots and stuff. And so their margins started to get squeezed, and they decided as partners that they wanted to part ways. And so they were winding the business down and basically were like, hey, there's really not a home for you here anymore. So in essence, kind of just had to jump ship and figure something else out. And I had wholesaled deals to Leo and Danny, and knew them in the community. They were really well known, good reputation. And they were like, hey, we got this fledgling lending company. We want to grow it. We don't really have like a salesperson. So do you want to come take an opportunity at this? Come take a swing. And then simultaneously, I was like applying to law firms, and I was like thinking maybe I just go back to that. And the pitch was like, hey, I've already done the sales side, I've already done the business side, and I know all these clients. I can be your rainmaker, basically. You guys kind of help me a little bit more on the legal side and whatever you need there, and I can just bring you business, whereas your traditional 1 through 3 year associates have no idea how to do that. And so basically back into that, and they all ate up the pitch. I got a bunch of offers from various law firms around the city, and then but Danny and Leo's, there's something that stood out with that, and it was the entrepreneur in nature, and it was like a startup vibe, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this.
Almost kind of, I imagine to some degree, like if I don't do this startup thing, I'm never gonna be this young again to kind of take a chance and do something.
Absolutely, and put my mark on it, and really just go for it. And I mean, looking back, like this is the best decision I ever could have possibly made, and you know, just substantially more successful than I ever would have been being like a first year law student.
Yeah. Fantastic.
That's my life.
Perfect. Well done. Well done. In a nutshell.
Now, do you do? Can I ask?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Do you do hard money and conventional loans, or just hard money?
We do hard money, and we have 30-year DSCR loans today now. So we do rental loans, basically. We're not a conventional lender, so we don't do residential mortgages.
Okay.
But we do rental loans for real estate investors that need like long and short-term lending, basically.
Don't go too deep into that, because that is a teaser for the end, towards the end. Because when I heard about this product, maybe like 2.5 years ago, we talked about this.
It's not super new,
that I was like, oh my gosh, this is something really cool. So,
I have a quick question.
Okay, as long as it's not about that.
The 400 million that you guys recently did, is it mostly commercial or residential?
Substantially residential, and by that I mean it's commercial paper, so it's not residential mortgages, but it's resi.
It's investors that want to buy
That are
residential
flipping,
homes.
mostly residential, some mixed use, some very little commercial.
And did you say most are flipping?
Most of it is flipping. I would say today it's probably 60% of our volume is flippers, 40% is 30-year product. So that has grown substantially.
Yeah,
part of our.
I'm surprised that it's only 60. I would have thought it's.
And in this market, it makes sense. I mean, there's just the margins for flipping have been eroded. So there's a lot of people that are holding right now.
So we're gonna flip the arrow here and point outwards to you guys. We're gonna do our quick member intros. If you guys can give us, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you looking for? Are you a new investor, experienced investor, a seasoned investor? What do you invest in? Elevator pitch. Any volunteers, or should I start pointing?
Hi guys.
Fantastic. Thank you, Danny.
I'm Daniel Nice. Pleasure to meet you guys. I am a real estate agent on the CAZA Gainesville team with Matt. He taught me everything I know, and I'm very grateful to be a part of his organization. In the first 3 years that I was working with him, my income doubled and then turned into quadrupled, so I'm very pleased with the results when you run with the right crowd. What I do is I work with investors who are looking to get their next deal done, and they're looking for an agent to help them. So typically that's like a new investor, someone who's been working with bigger pockets, and they just need all the connections, they need to be shown the ropes and kind of have the guardrails put up to help them get it through done. The other type of investor I work with are people who are just frankly busy and they want someone to do a lot of the work for them. So that's who I help, and what I'm looking for right now is I am interested in how people analyze properties and what tools they use to help them with it, because what I hear a lot of people doing is guess and check, and I'm just always having my ears open if someone has a better way of presenting the data.
Great. Awesome. Dan's actually, Rob Chavez, the founder of Grid, has really kind of leaned into an agent investor agent model, and Dan has really been, along with one other gentleman, has really been kind of the pioneer of kind of running that out and figuring out how to make that actually effective and work and value delivered and profitable and so on and so forth. So there's not a lot of people that are doing it well.
Yeah, there's a certification that goes along with it too. I was one of the first ones certified, and I don't know if I'm allowed to share, but according to Bigger Pockets' data with our area nationwide, we have done the best at converting out of anyone. So
Bigger Pockets is a big partner that pushes people who are interested in real estate investments, a lot of newbies, things like that, to different real estate agent teams who are specifically calibrated to be able to speak that language and talk to those folks and so on and so forth. And Dan and our team are laying the pack on that. Well done. In the back, oh sorry, anything else, bro?
yeah, this is my lovely wife. She's the reason I am successful. Anything you want to pitch? Podcast?
I'll pitch my godson in the back row there. That's what's up, dude. Let's
right.
go.
Yeah, Matt Mingle's the godfather, that's right. And so his name is Walter Matthias, but I end up calling him Matt as well, so now I got two Matts.
That's what's up.
So Elise, tell us about your podcast for a second.
Yeah, so we have a podcast called Hello E-Market, and it's pretty much our journey of building wealth through real estate. We have a lot of people join us as guests and kind of sharing their story of what they do. We had Dave and his wife Dana on the podcast, and we also had Naya and Matt Magel and his wife.
Yeah. So if anyone would like to get more exposure, I've got a list of about 2,000 people I send it out to, so you never know, your next deal might come from us.
Sweet.
Will Baxter. I know a few guys in the room. So I'm originally from Kansas, by way of the Marines. I was transplanted to Quantico and have kind of been here for about 20 years in the area. My background is actually in like IT security stuff. Started doing real estate, and I think met Jared back in 2017. It's been a while. And I did a condo conversion in 2017 that didn't go real smooth, but we auctioned it off and learned a lot. And so since then, I think I've done a good number of renovations, joint ventures, and have primarily focused on the renovation side. I kind of got knee deep into that after learning that not being the contractor was a bit of a challenge in a few of these deals. So I kind of dove in on that side, and that's been what I've done for really the last 7 years, is just renovate. I've done probably over 500 renovations. And I'm kind of focused on providing turnkey services for realtors, property managers, pricing when it comes down to being able to price out a project pretty quickly, effectively. That's kind of where we focus. So.
And your company that would be this
Design Pro remodeling. Mm-hmm.
And
So
you're like kind of like a general contractor or something?
correct.
Along those
Yeah,
lines?
GC.
Robbie Hato is.
Yep, Robbie.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of Design Pro guys in the area. So I'm just one of the teams in the area, focusing Clifton with work with Dave.
Got it. Very good. Okay, cool. Good time, bro. Thanks for being here, bud.
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it at the end when we're networking, dude. Otherwise, people won't stick around. They already got the networking out of the way. Go ahead.
So I'm Dave Zimmerman. Like Matt, my wife and I moved to Clifton in 2016, and love that town. It's the last small town in Fairfax County. Everybody's knows small town. Love it there. It's a great vibe, everything. So that's our farm too. We concentrate on that geographically, as well as our sphere of all over Northern Virginia. So what Will didn't tell you is Will and I are standing up the the Clifton Grid chapter starting next month.
Yeah.
And we're meeting right downtown, the Wine Attic, which is a really cool little venue there.
Fantastic.
It's got an annex, so we're gonna do that. Yeah, I moved out here a long time ago. I grew up in Iowa, so went to school out there, went to college out there, and lived in Kansas City for a couple of years. Moved out here in the mid '80s. Did high tech for 30 years, and then decided I was tired of getting on a plane on Monday and getting off on Friday, and decided that real estate license and all that. So I started and cut my teeth in real estate on foreclosure auctions, courthouse step stuff. with a partner of mine, and did that for about a half a year, and then went into flips, and then met Rob Chavez in 2013, and joined the team there.
Real estate agent?
What's that?
Real estate agent?
Yeah, so I'm a real estate agent. Will's licensed as well, so yeah, real estate agent and investor. I've got the investments that we have now are single family homes. So,
What are you, just curious, what are you looking to maybe invest in the future? Do you have a thing that you'd like to pick up, like to acquire, or not sure, just or not right now?
Yeah, we've got a few properties, but not a lot. It would be good to maybe get some more, and just have them. I think really the goal now is just to help other people do this,
Yeah.
right? And we're in the process of building out the Clifton team, so we want to add agents. And our real wheelhouse is downsizing, smart sizing is what we call it, to help people figure out how to get out of that house that they've been in for 30 years with all that stuff, and get to their assisted living, independent living, condo on the beach, whatever, and help them move along. So, we love that. We want to build a team that does that, and then from there, be able to take more investments and make that happen.
And Dave comes
Make
across
everything more passive.
deals helping even the owners like fitting themselves a lot, and I'm sure that's probably part of where Will can add a lot of value as well.
Yeah.
I've seen some of your order houses that you've helped turn around and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, one of our big value props for the CAZA team is we'll do renovate, not pay later. So we will actually fund the renovations for, we'll help people flip their own house, if you will. And the last deal we did in Reston, it was a trust that we were working with a trustee, and she gave us $68,000 to totally renovate this place. We ended up turning that $68,000 into $175,000 for them. Yeah, so, and they were ecstatic. They loved that, So.
And it was our $68,000.
It was our $68,000. We funded it.
We just got approval for that.
It's a 0% loan to do that to our clients, but then we take money out in extra commissions. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we get paid back. Yeah. So yeah, people love it.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, thanks.
My name's Erin Edwards. I am a director of finance and operations by day at a small private school. I've been in private schools for over 20 years. That's my main love. I also I love business and operations. So when you guys talk about these unique kind of deals, it's how do you know how to do that? How do you figure that out? And that's the stuff I like. So right now I'm really interested in small multifamily units. My son's in the Army. He's getting ready to come back from Germany. He's going to be my labor person who's going to do all the work. And he's the one really on me right now to get this done. So, I'm really looking at North Carolina, maybe Southwest Virginia. I have grown up in Northern Virginia most of my life, and I do everything I can to stay away from it. I live in Richfield, Virginia, and I really like the rural areas.
You live where?
Richfield, Virginia, outside of Culpeper.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the main attractions of North Carolina.
Awesome. What's the private school?
Right now I'm at St. James Episcopal School in Warrenton. We're preschool 2 through 5th grade. I also worked at Highland in Warrenton for years, which is preschool 2 through 12th grade. I'm an empty nester, so now this is what I'm doing, and I have a lot of free time.
Sounds good.
And so to drive my husband crazy, I'll come see you all.
We appreciate Welcome back. We appreciate having you here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Naya.
Naya Pirakos. I've been in real estate 21 years. Started out when I was 5. I've known Matt for over 20 years. We went to college together at Virginia Tech. And I've known Rob for 12, 13 years. So my story, I started out as rehabbing properties. Over 10 years, actually no, I was a real estate agent for over 12 years. So I got my real estate license, I got some rentals, traditionally going to the bank, putting 20% down, getting those loans. The market crashed, so then I got my first mentor, rehabber, so I started rehabbing properties. And I didn't like using hard money lenders because I had a deal go south in DC where I counted the conversion. Thank God I didn't lose money, but you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? When you have to ask, there has to be another way around. So I met my second mentor, where I learned how to structure deals creatively. So I've been doing that for over 10 years. Buying houses subject to existing loans, seller financing, and in 2015 I became a national coach to investors all over the country. So teaching them how to do this too. So for me right now, it's like I'm passionate in building 1,000 multimillionaires and using leverage. And leverage is one of my favorite words. So one of the ways you can leverage is buying a house, taking over someone's loan. That's a very low interest rate. So that's what I do. I still flip houses. I buy the house creatively, and I'll still flip it if it needs to be flipped. But 75% of the properties I buy are like pretty houses that just need a little bit of cosmetic work. So now that I have students that I'm helping coach, this is the first year that I bought houses in other states. I got some in Texas this year, so I'm expanding. I'm like, why not? That's the market. I got Florida, DC. I'm like, even though I avoid DC because of landlord-tenant laws. But this was already, the tenant was already there. It was a 4-year-old house in a condo. So like, this is safe. It's a safe. And then it was a 2 deal for 1. The sellers had 2 houses, and they were gonna pay me to buy the DC one, but they sold me a Florida one that had profit in it. So I was like, okay, I'll take them off your hands.
That's great.
So it was good.
That's great. I really love what you're putting together across the country. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And I love being here supporting you because I live 10 minutes away.
Yeah, definitely. It's great. Unlike Rixie, though. Thank you for the trip. Michael?
I am Mike Thornton, and I've been in this area since college, about 20 years, and I just thought I've actually known Matt for 20 years last April. So my real estate's kind of a second side hustle for me, and I see it as a good investment asset class. So like, it's interesting to me to buy it up and have some and hold on to it as like just building wealth over my life instead of investing so much in the stock market. So my main hustle is in the field of psychology. I was a teacher a long, long time ago. And I own a company now that's fairly young, growing pretty fast, behavioral health company.
Are you in Gainesville?
I am in Gainesville.
I need your comment.
Okay.
Somebody talked about it recently.
And I've been in the field for 20 years as well. I've been in Northern Virginia for 20 years, so I know a lot of people. But I've done lots of work in that field and then launched a company 18 months ago, and it's been going really well. We're launching in Richmond next week. But real estate wise, it's always been interesting. 20 years ago as well, I formed a partnership with a couple of family members, and we were buying land and building houses on it. I had somebody young out of the military to do labor. Right now I have 3 long-term rentals, 2 in this area, Bristow, and 1 in Winchester. And I would buy a long-term rental if it came up in the right situation for my wife's aunt, possibly invest in an urban area. She's on the autism spectrum, and it would be good for her to be in a more urban area. I could help her find a better job that way too, and then public transportation. So if that came about, I would jump on that. And my wife and I will probably build like a horse farm, and then put tiny homes on it and rent those out, short-term rentals. That's another project we're interested in. And then there's the possibility we might build something in the Caribbean, and I'm not sure if we'll rent or not. We probably would, just because there's so much money in it. But, yeah. So those are the projects I'm interested in the future, and I have 70% of my wealth in real estate, because it's a real thing. You know, I like it as something to buy and hold on to.
Mike's got a wide buy box, as you can tell, from the Caribbean to West Virginia, to tiny houses to condos. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for going through that. Let me click through this important legal stuff. Check. We're not attorneys. We're just giving you some random advice. You guys do your own due diligence. All right. So you found a deal. Now, how you get you will you know what it will cost you to renovate the property, and that's what it and property and what it's worth after. All right. So what it's saying is like we're going through 9 months of this course and kind of going through all the different things. By the point of September, we've taught through the grid, investor training, how to find the deal, how to renovate the deal, all that kinds of stuff, or where to get the money. So. I'm going to go through this quickly because I don't want to make any assumptions about what people know. I know many of you know all this stuff better than I do, but let's just kind of go through it and we'll pick Jared's brain. And Jared, jump in, please, if you're like, don't forget about blank that's not on the slide, or even push back if there's something on here that doesn't seem to make a ton of sense in your opinion. So obviously, ways to fund a deal. Cash, kind of talked about that. Easiest and cheapest, but you're tying up a lot of your resources and putting 100% of your own cash into a deal. Home equity, stocks, other investments, your still personal assets, just kept in a different fashion than cash. Your IRA, you could potentially use if you have a self-directed IRA. Rob, my business partner, has used his self-directed IRA a lot of times to kind of get access to at least a portion of the proceeds needed to kind of make it work. Friends, family, partners, if you've got that kind of connection, certainly could be great. Is there a level of complexity when you have multiple people who are all kind of in this thing together and everybody wants to make sure their money is coming out first and so on and so forth? It can certainly be a little more complicated, but can work. And then loans, which is where we're going to spend the majority of our time today. Costs more than cash, obviously, but it's oftentimes the best combination of speed, leverage, favorite word, cost and convenience. So possible loan sources, traditional banks, right? You guys kind of understand, traditional banks, 20-25% down, they're gonna have to meet certain guidelines, the house can't be in a certain level of disarray, all that type of stuff. So there's certainly some difficult constraints. I have used traditional, like you kind of were talking about in your story, Naya, early, like regular real estate agent, buying rental properties, 20-25% down, regular banks and so on. I've done a lot of that in terms of just buying primary residences that have eventually become future rental properties. So they're still on like a 5% conventional loan, frankly. 5% interest, 5% down conventional loan when purchased, and just, the tenants are paying that off. A couple that were at a 25%, a down payment on a much smaller type of property, so easier to do. The only thing that I will kind of mention, and I'm conservative, fiscally conservative, I know we've got probably a wide spectrum of how people handle their own kind of financial decisions, but one simple rule that I've kind of used is, if I'm using a 30-year mortgage on a long-term rental property, if I'm using the 30-year mortgage terms, and it cash flows, even if it just cash flows to like $200 a month around this area, then I'm like, okay, this is kind of a set and forget it thing. If I've got to get really creative in the loan and I got to kind of figure out a way to make the numbers work, then it's a barometer for me to be like, I'm off the safe, right? I'm not saying it can't work, but like I at least have to make that cognitive decision that I am doing something outside of traditional to kind of say, there's got to be some factors that are going to kind of work out. So, not that you guys need to use that, but that's just been something that I've kind of used as a litmus test. Will this work no matter what forever, or am I going to have to have some time frame that this is going to work for, and then adjust? Private or hard money loans. Lenders are private individuals or specialized companies that lend to investors at fix and flip, of which Jared, of course, represents the biggest in the area. More expensive than traditional banks, but much faster and more flexible. All right, so let me stop here. Jared, just comparing those two, what makes hard money private loans different, that talking to all different kinds of investor expertise? B, layman's terms, traditional banks, hard money, pros of traditional banks, pros of hard money, cons of traditional banks, cons of hard money, like kind of give us a comparative. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know as far as who in the room has gone through the process of buying a house recently with a traditional loan. It is literally the worst thing ever.
Pain-wise.
Yeah, pain-wise, to jump through all the hoops. My wife and I bought our house in 2020, and literally to the day of closing, there were tons of documents still being asked, to the point where our loan officer was like questioning whether we could get the deal done. And we're very we're doing well in life, like we're high earners, like this, it never should have been an issue to that extent. So, you know, it just shows you like whenever there's an avenue of getting money like that, it's not going to work for everybody. And there's so many like really cool ways to finance your deals, and they're all out there. And like my job isn't to be like, oh, you know, don't think about that thing or don't this. Like there's always going to be a scenario for different types of creative financing. Just like hard money lenders, there's a space for us, right? You know, we fill a need, we fill a gap between traditional mortgages and like local community banks that are doing deals, and you know, mom and dad or sibling who's just going to give you cash. I think, yeah, there's a necessity for having like private debt funds like us that give people financing. Like today, it also has to do with the you know, what's the current market conditions out there, right? Like all the local banks that I know, and we deal with all of them, we have relationships with many of them in the DC area, you know, they're now at like 30% down. You know, it's like, who's got 30%? You know, we've got credit lines with some of them for our own business, and we know what they're offering people. And so, you know, some of this stuff is just not feasible. You know, like on the slide, if you're going and raising cash from your family, you know, or somebody that you know, like they're basically a partner at that point. They're going to want a certain return. You're going to have to be especially careful with their money. You know, so there's challenges with a lot of different areas, and private lending, hard money lending has its downsides as well, you know, but I think on the whole, it allows a lot of people to get into the space that couldn't have otherwise been able to. For example, FICO scores, you know, we're doing loans for people that just have lower FICO scores than the banks could qualify them for. And track records too. We're doing, you know, deals with people that have never done a deal before. And you know, we're really proud to say that we've helped a lot of people who have very little experience get into deals and really build wealth in real estate. So
Yeah, the family dynamic is interesting too, because, you know, like, would I rather work with an impersonal, you know, entity where there's going to be costs associated with either, you know, scenario, but you're not at Thanksgiving dinner, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to potentially harm a relationship that I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
Right.
Because I was inexperienced and I thought I knew what I was doing, and if whatever, it didn't work out for them. It's an important point.
Absolutely, and it's not even just that. I mean, like if you're really going to do the real estate investing thing, and you know, some of what comes along with that is you're saying, like, I'm a business person, I'm an investor, I want to make a certain return. Then you have to ask yourself, like, what is the return that you're making just using all cash? Like, it still baffles me to this day that I run into a lot of people that are just doing all cash deals. When they could be using leverage and other people's money to be getting a higher cash on cash return. So some people are looking at different metrics on the profitability of their deals, and they are, you know, whether it's the ROI or cash on cash or whatever the multitude of different metrics they could use to determine their profitability.
What's the argument for the guy who's using all cash? What do you hear?
Well, I mean, that's easy. It's just, oh, rates are high right now, and inventory is low, so I'm really not doing as many deals, and I'm just going to use cash to help save some costs. And margins are slimmer these days, so I need to preserve as much as I possibly can. Sure, that works. Like, again, it's all different types of financing works for different people in different scenarios. So if you're going to do one deal a year, sure, go.
Yeah.
You know, fine. I get it. You know, but if you're trying to make a business out of this, it's just not the smart way to go about it.
Who is the avatar that you see, you know, Washington Capital Partners helping most, right? The guy who's got $20 million in the bank and is flipping 2 houses a year, he's not going to ask my money.
No.
But
I mean, they're never coming to us.
Yeah, who's the avatar that you're like, yo, this guy loves what we're able to bring to his world?
I would say on average, it's usually somebody who has a 9 to 5. They're looking to build wealth in real estate as more of a side hustle, side income. They're usually working with a general contractor, so they are not GCing the project themselves. They're generally doing 3 to 5 flips a year on average. And you know, the average loan amount is generally $300,000 to $400,000. So it's substantial enough that if you're going to do 4 or 5, you might not have the cash to be able to get into that many. And especially, you know, in Northern Virginia, like there's just no way. I mean, NTC just prices are kind of crazy all over. So just it's too much cash to really ask for that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
If an average loan is 300,000 to 400,000, what is somebody flipping for that? Because it's hard to even find a property there. So what is the 300,000 to 400,000? Is that like part of the money that's needed to buy the house? And then
Yeah. So if we're talking loan
like
volume,
it's a down payment and the
so yeah,
construction
that
cost.
doesn't include the equity. So the way that we generally structure our deals is we're looking at the total cost of the project. We're also looking at the loan to value, the as-is loan to value, and the ARV loan to value. But really, we want to understand what's the buy, what's the fix, and what is that together? What's the total cost? And then we'd like to see some percentage of money from the borrower as kind of skin in the game. That's their equity that they're bringing as a down payment. We're funding the remainder of it. Generally, our loans are like range from 75 to 90% LTC. So the delta there is the down payment, and we're doing the majority of the funding.
And you say LTC, C stands
Loan
for
to cost.
Cost.
So total cost, yeah.
Gotcha. And the loan, the ARV you talked about, you want to kind of know what that piece of it is. How does that factor into the equation?
So then there's also kind of a cap, right? Most lenders don't want to be today in this market over 70% LTV. I mean, you know, go backwards a year to 18 months and everybody was going up to 75%, but you almost never see more than 75%.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's a lot of really great ways. I love the sub-2 game. I mean, I don't know if you follow like Pace.
Yeah, I'm in the mastermind.
Yeah, just really cool stuff, and I feel like it's really kind of blowing up right now. It's like kind of it's time right
It
now.
is. I mean, I've been doing it for over 10 years.
Yeah, no, you're
right?
probably early to the game,
Yeah,
but
but it's, I love it because the opportunity
Yes.
is incredible. Like, can you imagine leveraging loans that are like less than 5%?
and that's the thing is like in today's market, it's also having its day because all the rates are high. So if you can go and do this and get in at 4% or 5% or whatever, or 3%, that would be amazing if
Oh
somebody.
yeah, my 2 houses in Texas were 3%.
Yeah. But again, it's like, you know, you also have to realize like not every single deal is going to be a sub-2 deal.
No, and sometimes I'll have to use hard money or private money or
I mean,
a combination.
if there's a property with a purchase price of $200K and there's only a $50,000 mortgage, you still have to come up with a difference. So, I mean, it's not going to work on every deal, and that's why, again, to my point, there's so many different avenues for each different deal that you come across. I think the challenge really is, like, it's not hard to find financing right now. It's really not. Things may be a little bit tighter in the finance world. There's less liquidity in the system, but it's more so just tough to find the deals. Like, that's the hard part these days.
You talked about this avatar of 9-to-5er who's flipping 3 to 5 a year. From you being in relationship with these guys and maybe being able to see into the finances, maybe not. What's that guy making outside of his 9-to-5 through his real estate enterprises? Is he making 50 a year? Is he making 150 a year? Is this guy pushing a quarter? I know I'm speaking generally, but just because there's people that'll see this on Facebook and they're like, I think I want to get into this, but what is the expected result if you are doing this right? What do you kind of say?
I mean, first of all, you have to. The reality is you have to, unless you're getting financed through mom, dad, or friend, or whatever family. Most of the people that are in that avatar are high earners. They're making 200 plus, and they've had the ability to have some wealth accumulation, some cash accumulation, and they can get into these deals. I would say, as far as profit per deal, on average, we're seeing $40,000 to $50,000 for like a single family flip. So if they're
multiply
doing
that times 3 to 5,
there you go, $250 in average, additional income on top of whatever their the spouses are making. So they could be another two, then maybe they're making $600,000 plus.
And just to get granular, because I'd like for people to just know, we hear, like I said at the beginning, we hear all these late night infomercials that you can make money in real estate. That guy who's made a decent amount of money, he was able to save up a little bit of a nest egg, he's getting into his first deal. You guys not only are providing the money, but especially for somebody who's a novice in this, you're like, no, I'm not going to finance that because that's not a good deal, which is a safety net for the guy who doesn't want to blow his own foot off.
Absolutely.
But so there's an advocacy or a partner, even though it's not in the truest sense, that's like looking at this because they want to protect their own interests, so you can kind of trust. I've heard Grant Cardone being like, talking about buying these freaking 250 unit places, being like, I go to the banks and I say, hey, I want the money for this because they've got a room full of stinking eggheads that are going to make sure that the numbers all work. It's like, I don't even have to freaking pay for those people.
Right.
So like they have the same relationship with someone like you. What is the first what is the for their first deal? Are they bringing $30K? Are they bringing $50K in this $150 to $400 loan? What are they kind of bringing for their skin in the game? So somebody can maybe even say, okay, I got to save that up.
Right.
If I'm going to be the avatar.
20 to 25%.
20 to 25% down. So
for their very first deal.
They've
never done anything.
And we're talking about like a $400,000-ish purchase.
I mean, usually people that are just starting out, I'm seeing less, like maybe $200,000 or $300,000 for
So
the first deal. Some people are
let's say.
swinging for the fences though. But look, and I also want to make the point, like, as good as we do try to do a job on being an advisor, being a partner, trying to help people protect themselves against risk, this is an inherently risky thing. And the biggest unknown is the partnerships. And that's what we see as the number one, basically riskiest part of this whole business. I personally see is who's your GC? Like, are you properly managing your projects? Like, do you have the right people in your corner? Partnership disputes and challenges, like, did you find the wrong partner and now it's going to blow up your deal? Did you find the wrong GC or the person that's like, running your deal? And then third, are you mismanaging your money? Do you have enough operating capital? And that is one of the things that we do look out for, is concentration of risk as a lender. And we do have to say, like, hold on, slow down, based on the cash that I'm seeing that you have like in your bank account. That's why we do look at like liquidity and stuff, because if you're running yourself so thin and you're doing tons of deals, right? Like, there's a high chance that you're going to crash or burn, like if one little thing goes wrong. Easier said than done, because people want to scale and people want to grow and do more and more, and it's hard to do it slow and be patient.
Having good GCs that and that are operating well, managing your own money, and the third area that you see people blow themselves up is
GC partnerships, and then money
Gotcha.
management
Gotcha.
in general, with a subheading of having enough operating capital to maintain and sustain all of your builds at the same time. Each of them should have its own bank
Cash
account and be their own business.
Got
They have a P&L, you run them like a business, and you're not borrowing from one to pay for the other one.
I've seen a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first mentor, Dave, I learned a lot. He took the fear away from the construction side, but he became a deal junkie, what you're saying.
Exactly, there's
And then that
addicts.
deal junkie, he had to file bankruptcies down the road, and he had hard money lenders after him because he was borrowing money from one property that didn't even start to finish the old one, and then playing that game.
His own Ponzi
And then I was like, I need to get out.
Eject.
Yeah, integrity.
So, one of the cool things about hard money, or one of the benefits, I say cool things is not the right term, one of the benefits of hard money is oftentimes it is based on the quality of the deal, if not exclusively, based on the quality of the deal as opposed to the person's personal, FICO scores or things like that. This is maybe where I would love for you to share, because this is where I 2.5 years ago, when you talked about your longer term 30-year product, I was like, oh snap, because I don't own 10 rental properties yet, but once you get past 10, or if you're really creative and you've got 10 and your wife's got 10 themselves, but you get out of the real ability to kind of use number 12, 14, 25 through the Fannie Freddie, type of product, right? You're gonna have to use commercial or something else. And so, I'm not there yet, but I'm like, okay, that's pending. I'm at 7, well, I'm at 1 primary residence and 6 others that are not, I don't live in. So I'm like getting closer to that. What's the next plan? And I'm trying to even maybe create relationships with small to medium banks. And hey, maybe you could do it. But tell us a little bit about this long-term product, because maybe it's something you guys have heard of before, but it was new to me. And I started telling people like, look, you don't have to worry. This product exists. So tell us.
Yeah, so and even going the like small and like local regional banks, you're going to run into the same thing, which is they care about your personal debt to income ratio. That's what it all boils down to. Is this 30-year DSCR product that we're talking about does not care about what your personal debt to income ratio is. It only cares about what is the debt to income ratio of the property itself. The property's expenses and revenue that it's throwing off. What is that? And so that's what we look at when we're talking about a DSCR.
What does DSCR stand for, if you don't mind?
Debt service coverage ratio.
Debt service coverage ratio loan.
Correct. So you are basically, the general rule of thumb is you're looking for something over 1.0, which basically means that all things held equal, your expenses should not be more than the revenue that the rental is spinning off.
It could be a 1-to-1 and still qualify for this product.
It could be a 1-to-1 and still qualify. Actually, we don't advertise this a lot, but we're actually able to go down to 0.75 for the right borrower, which means you're actually negative cash flow in a deal. This is like, back pocket kind of stuff. It's really not something we're doing on every deal, but if we have to do it to make it work, we can do that. But most lenders out there would like to be at a 1.2 DSCR. They want to see that there's cash flow here, right? I mean, that's what everybody's goal is anyways. But to your point earlier with your own rentals, like getting to a 1.0, it's like, well, it's on autopilot. I don't have to think about it. Like it's buying down my mortgage. Like I'm gaining, like hopefully there's price appreciation and I'm gaining there too. So, it's not a bad strategy.
And that expense calculation, I'm imagining, is pretty inclusive. We're talking about like a home warranty is
no. This is the really cool part. It doesn't include all of that. It doesn't include CapEx stuff or vacancy percentages or anything like that. It's literally annual property tax, annual insurance premium. What is the debt cost? What's the monthly HOA? 4 things.
Okay.
4 things only, and then what is the revenue, aka rent, monthly on the property? You're comparing those 2 things. And that's how you're getting the DSCR.
And I don't know if this has changed since we spoke, so certainly update my file, but I remember that the interest rates as compared to the banks were, 1.5%, maybe 2% higher, 1 to 2% higher than what you're gonna pay there, but it wasn't like 3-4% higher.
Yeah,
is that still?
That's absolutely correct. I mean, where are we at today? I haven't checked the
7.1.
7.1. So we're like the lowest that I've seen, and it fluctuates literally monthly, but the lowest I've quoted in the last 2 weeks, I think, was low 8s.
Okay.
So very competitive. I mean,
For a
relative
30-year.
for a 30-year DSCR rental.
Product, which qualifies based
But
on the
that
house
includes
alone.
interest and principal, so it's not interest only or anything like that.
It's not interest only, although we can do interest only loans for you with ARMs.
Or with
5, 7, 10 years if you want to do that. But no, this is a 30-year fixed, fully amortized loan. We do not escrow for, property taxes and stuff like that. There's some products that do ask you to do that. In this product, it doesn't. So you just kind of have to handle that on your own. But
So in terms of like finding the rental deal and getting, this doesn't show up on your credit report.
yeah, it doesn't show up on your credit report. It is a personal guarantee, so that's something to take into account. I really always love to highlight WCP is very unique, especially in DC on our bridge loans, our construction loans. We do not require a personal guarantee, where most people do. So that's a big thing for risk-wise. Like, if God forbid something goes wrong, and you got to walk away from the project, the liability stays with just the entity and whatever the value of the asset is.
But the DSCR, the DSCR loan does have a personal guarantee, but basically the idea is like find the deal, make sure that at a 1 to 1.5% higher interest rate, amortized over 30 years, it's still going to cash flow, and doesn't matter what your credit is, doesn't matter, those kinds of things. They're basing it on the product.
So no, I will just to correct you.
Credit?
FICO does play a role. Minimum today, I believe we're at 650, which is still pretty strong. Everybody's kind of moved to like 660 to 680, so I think it's still pretty competitive on that front.
It's not on your credit report, but it shows up on your credit report after 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late, or not?
It does not.
God,
We
interesting.
do not. That has to do with the lender not reporting. Like we just don't, as a business, report.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not going to show up on your credit.
But
Obviously, it would if we're pulling your credit. Like there's going to be a pull, but we're not like reporting
Right.
if there's lates or what have you.
only U.S. Turks and Caicos?
I wish. Maybe one day. We played around with like Puerto
Maybe
Rico.
I'll bring you the right deal.
Puerto Rico, we've kind of toyed with, but today it's just continental U.S. and so.
And once again, like there's lots of ways that you can get your long-term rental funded, but like that's just one that I think you should have in the back pocket.
And to just to continue to elaborate on this,
Please.
we are working, like some of my clients are, I'm sure that there are bigger accumulators of single family homes, but I'm working with 3 different groups that are aggregating single family homes that are buying literally thousands of single families. And this is the kind of product they're using. So if somebody is doing it at that level, at that scale, and they're relying on this type of product, you know that it has to be pretty good because they've gone to banks, they've gone to probably big funds to back them and all sorts of creative financing tools in Wall Street. And if they're still coming back to this kind of product, it's pretty impressive.
All right, let me see. We're gonna hit a couple other slides, and then you guys think of your questions. I would love for you guys to piggyback and see. Typical hard money loan terms: commercial use, non-owner occupied. Obviously, you can't put it on your primary residence. First deed of trust always. Maximum 65 to 70%. As you kind of said, construction holdback and draws to fund renovations. Tell us maybe just a little bit about your construction loans. Kind of how does that work? How do the draws work? What's getting in the game? It's just something that I'm not as familiar with.
So just going back to what I said earlier, it's generally 75 to 90% LTC loans for our acquisition and construction loans, which means there's a construction component to the loans. We want to do 100% of the construction, so there's a lot of lenders out there that'll say, I'll do 85% of your purchase and I'll do 85% of your construction. So you got to put in 15, after we close, you still have to put in 15% and then put in more and then I'll reimburse you. So it's always reimbursement style draws for the most part, but we want to control the whole construction for the most part. We get that there's going to be overages. There's not too much we can do about that. We just advise our borrowers put in a contingency, pad your line items if you need additional contingency per line item, so that we don't, because it's really tough to go back and change the loan. Once it's closed, it's kind of set in stone, and it's if you underfunded some of the line items, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be out of pocket. So we really push for contingencies. But as far as the process, it's pretty streamlined today. We've really revamped a lot of the construction budget process. We're working with a new inspection company, so somebody gives us a call and they say, hey, I need my this draw. We send an inspector out there generally in 24 hours. They go look at it. They say, okay, this is the percentage of all these different items based on the budget that you've completed. So even though you might have a draw where you're I think I want framing and this and blah, 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 if you've done more than that, you can still be recouped for whatever you've done at the site. So a big one that people really lose sight of is go to your job site and be there when the inspector's there. There's a lot of people that, I get it, they're busy or whatever, they're not there with the inspector. The inspector's going to do whatever they can do, but if you're literally pointing it out and doing things, we've seen a much better likelihood of getting all of the cash that you're looking to get back. So But yeah, I mean, it's generally not longer than a week to get reimbursed. 3-4 days. Obviously, delays happen, but for the most part, we try to average at that.
Credit of borrower not as important as viability of the deal. Going back to just hard money flipping, conversation here. Points and some interest are normally pretty closing. Look, they updated the file. 9 to 13% interest. Is that still hold true in this interest rate environment?
Yeah, no, that does. I mean, I don't know so many people that are getting 9. I think that there's definitely some folks that if they're doing huge volume, like maybe you can get to 9 at one of the really national shops or something like that, but you got to jump through a lot of hoops, and you're also not going to be able to do certain sizes. There's just going to be a lot of barriers to what you can actually do with that.
If you were to rewrite this slide based on what you're seeing, what would that range be?
Like for us, we're in the 10 to 11 range.
10
right now.
Okay, so it's
Which is
inside.
fair.
Yeah, I think it's competitive to the market. There's really, I see a lot of term sheets from other lenders. There's really nobody that's doing on a very regular basis less than 10.
Right. 2 to 5 points still.
Yeah, 1 to 3. I think our average is like 2, but some of that depends on the size of the deal. Some of it depends on the, if you're doing a bunch of volume with us, if you're doing a lot, we can generally work with you there. So.
And then the cost of the loan is directly related to the risk taken by the lender. Okay, makes sense. Other considerations with a property structure loan, the return on the cash is much higher because you don't need as much, and you won't need another partner, friend, family member, etc. Keep more of the profit in the investor. If you do need a partner to bring cash, credit, etc., it's easier to find a partner with $50K than one with $500K. I don't know what Mark's talking about on that. Anything? Does that make much sense to you, or what the point of this slide is?
I'm not quite sure the point. I just, I see so many people out there that are asking for equity partners and
meaning the guy who's got the deal asking for equity partners instead of just getting.
Yeah, and it's so tough. It's just really tough to find those.
Well,
not everybody has a rich uncle. And not everybody. You might be good at finding deals, but you might not have the cash to be able to do the deals.
Yeah. Well, I think what Mark is saying here is when it comes to the percentages that you need to bring to the table, if a hard money lender is only going to give you, 85%, right? So he's saying if you need extra money, okay, if you need $50K like private money to finish the job because you just ran out of yours, and the hard money loan topped out, he's like, it's easier to find $50K.
Then the total cash for
Exactly.
the deal. Yeah, that
Or
makes sense.
somebody who needs help with a down payment, it's easier to find 50.
Right,
than a full
because
deal.
my condo conversion that went south, it should have been done in 6 months, took 18 months to do. But I had to bring in a couple of private guys after the fact because we had issues with contractors and things like that. So the one person who was making money along the way was a hard money lender.
Yeah.
So I ended up making $2,000 in the deal that we would have
To
been
get out of it.
at 300. I still made $2K. So I've never.
No, I mean, you made $2K just to get out of it.
We finished 18 months.
Right.
The 18-month nightmare, and I made $2,000, and I was like thanking my lucky stars.
Yeah.
That
Condo conversions are challenging for sure, and DCRA is not making it easier.
oh no,
It's only gotten worse.
we had nothing easy about it.
We are at 8:08. We're good on time. Questions from any of you fine folks that didn't already ask them for Jared or for anybody? Anything that you heard?
Jared, I wonder what is your default rate?
Default rate is 24%.
Interesting.
Wait,
Good question.
people default 24%?
So this is it's a little bit loaded in that you're not automatically charged 24%. Like, do the legal docs say that? Yeah, absolutely. But frankly, you have to be a jerk to be able to get to that point. Like, you have to really understand who your lender is, what hard money lender you're working with, and there's a lot of just small people that have a couple $1 million that they're lending out, and they're very aggressive. Like, they make a lot of their money on tiny little mistakes that their borrowers are making. Oh my God, you didn't pay in one day, late fees. default interest, things like that. I know so many local private lenders, not hard money lenders, that actually have a full-on business. That's like a 60-person company like ours that has a reputation, that's like on Google, that's worried about like, you know, that actually has a brand that could lose, as opposed to just some guy or lady that can just be aggressive with their potential borrowers. So I think you have to know who you're dealing with as a lender. And if somebody's going to be late, you know, one time or two times, or even like regularly, there's so many times that we've waived late fees, we've waived default fees. It's only when somebody has become so massively delinquent that they're just clearly not going to be able to get out of the issue. We're talking 6 months or something, and then they're going to be a jerk and make it more difficult for us. Sure, yeah. I mean, a lender has to protect themselves. There has to be some kind of penalty
No, I get
to
that.
make
I get that.
it challenging.
So I'm hearing two different questions though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought what she was asking is what percentage of the loans do you have to
Oh.
repossess? i.e.
Yes,
the
exactly.
default
Yeah.
rate?
Yes.
I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
thank God. I mean, today our foreclosure rate is
Yes,
so to speak.
correct.
under 1%. I mean,
Oh, that's
we're
good.
That's
And that's what I thought. It was like maybe
Yeah.
2%.
Yeah, I kind of gasped at 24% of the loans.
Yeah.
I know.
Whoa.
The
Yeah.
24% for you meant what? Clarify what you're talking about.
default rate.
The
so
terms,
every
things
every
the terms.
lender has in there.
Yeah.
If you're naughty and your loan goes in default, we can slap you with a way higher interest rate. That's the reality.
Gotcha.
So there has to be some kind of teeth in.
So if my
Words have meanings.
if my term is 6 months, and if I don't
Yeah.
flip this house in 6 months, then he could technically hit me with fees.
Yeah, and
That's
again,
a
that
good
goes
call.
back to what lender are you working with. For us, anytime you're getting to a maturity date, as long as there's some kind of progress being made and you're making your payments, you're not going to fall off a cliff.
Yeah,
We will get you an extension, and we're not going to break you over the coals with some of these lenders. As soon as one day is over, it's like 5 points. You know, like,
Yeah.
and that's how they're making all their
They're in
money.
the
It's
fee
like, this is
business
just,
as
they're in the
opposed
fee
to
business.
lending.
It's just so dishonest. And like, how do you build a sustainable business?
Well,
that
that's
has
what
a
happened
brand?
to us in the kind of conversion deal.
No, it's
We're getting
happened.
6 months here, stop here, something like. Well, we were paying monthly, but then you're like at, 1 or 2% points every time you need an extension, and it's not on us; it's on DCRA, the contractor.
Yeah, but no, to answer your question again, just to finalize that, default rate under 1%, like when you're doing more loans, obviously then your 1% is a larger number.
Right.
And so it's an unfortunate part of the business. It just is what it is, but we do everything we can to avoid foreclosure. Like, I do not want to foreclose. It is not a moneymaker. Like,
Yeah.
some people, I don't understand how like the loan to own lenders are out there, because for us, like, it's a money loser and it's a ton of wasted time. We have an asset management department. I have to be involved. Danny has to be involved. Like, it's just a headache that nobody wants to deal with. I don't want a single REO.
Legal and all that,
I
yeah.
want to just go fund a bunch of loans and be successful and make sure and work with successful people and just,
Dan,
So since I work with people who come to me and they say, I want to flip or I want to burn, if I refer their information to you, what does that process look like? Am I going to get feedback from WCP that, hey, these people don't have a shot in heck because they've got 10 grand in their account? Is there a pre-approval letter? And then let's say we actually find an asset that we're able to get under contract. What is the timeline for funding something like that?
Yes, so there is a formal process. In this instance, you probably just work with me directly, but it could be any number of the loan officers on my team. Generally, that intake is doing some kind of pre-qual with them, asking the right questions. Do you have an estimate on your FICO? What does your track record look like? So you're asking the right questions to qualify them. And then you're kind of knowing before a deal even pops up, what could we feasibly give these folks?
Yeah.
And you're relaying all that information. We can obviously collect documents up front and do that through some of our tech. We have like a borrower portal where you can do that securely and encrypted. So we can know what their FICO is up front if they're willing to do that. We can know all that stuff. And then we can give a proof of funds letter. I'm happy to give a proof of funds letter. As far as timeline, generally, like, our closings are 7 to 10 days on average. We do require getting an appraisal, so but we have local appraisers that do it in 4 or 5 days, so it's not it's almost never an issue to getting a deal done in time to do that. So.
Awesome.
Do you have a lot of agents that are kind of
Brokering.
similar to what
Yes.
Dan is kind of saying?
So many.
Yeah.
So many agents are doing that.
And that use you kind of like traditional agents use a traditional lender to kind of like, hey, let's get this stuff done up front so that we can be
absolutely.
more effective in the market?
Absolutely, and not only that, but going back to the advisor idea is coming to us and saying, like, what do you think of this deal? And that's where I'm trying to add value. Like, again, if this whole conversation for our competitors or other ways of financing deals is just going to come down to rates, like, I'm not doing my job as a salesperson. I have to explain why I'm going to create so much value for you as a borrower that you don't care if you're paying an extra point, or you don't care if it's maybe slightly more convenient to do something else. But I'm going to hit you with so much value. You're not going to care. You're going to just say, here, I'll pay whatever I need to pay, and it's so amazing to work with you. Like, it doesn't bother me. And that's kind of, yeah, and that's kind of how I approach it. Like, no joke, my borrowers are calling me until like 12 in the morning, like to ask questions, to go over deals, and that's just how I personally run my life, run my business. But yeah, so you have to find that, and not every loan officer is like that.
So then, let's take the example of someone who has an opportunity with a decent amount of meat on the bone and it needs a light rehab, and they want to long-term hold it afterwards, right? So like a burr.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that they come to you, they want the hard money up front in order to kind of get the rehab part done, and then they want to refi into a DSCR loan.
Do it all the time.
Is that something where you, this actually circles back to my intro today, where I was like, how do you present the data in a way that is understandable so the client doesn't glaze over, right? Do you have a way that you like to do that, where it's not just an internal thing, thumbs up, thumbs down, or is that communicated beautifully to the client?
No, I mean, that's generally, it's not super formal. Like, I wish I could tell you I had some flowery, like, one pager that just explains this all, but generally it's communication in writing, oftentimes over email, that fully breaks everything down in just a really bite-sized, digestible way. Not only talking about what's the construction loan going to look like and what's the structure and details of that, but also if the end goal is a burr and to get into a hold, they need to know, is this a bridge to nowhere that you're building them?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to be able to get out and do a DSCR loan, or are they going to do this and then suddenly get to the end and be like, holy crap, like, I have to bring money now to closing to get refied up?
And then that's where you can help them. You as an agent, you make sure that you do your rental comps.
Yes.
Right? And you can say, hey, this is option A, option B. I always tell people that you need at least 2 exit plans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's both.
At least 2 exit plans. So if one doesn't go, you can pivot to another one.
That makes sense to me. And then do you also produce a loan summary for them, or something akin to it? That way they can compare apples to apples in case they're shopping around?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a term sheet. So we would provide a term sheet for them, and hopefully if I've done a good enough job, they're not shopping around, and I've given them so much value that they don't have to feel like they need to do that. But yeah, sure, absolutely. Give them a term sheet, and they can shop around and do whatever they need to do. And some of it's just trying to explain about building the relationships, because it's real estate investing. It's such a relationship game. Can you go and nickel and dime and just be like, okay, this one will give me quarter basis point better, or this will do me this? It's like, at some point you need to just build a relationship with somebody that's going to come through and help you in a tough spot. Like, what if you find that deal and they have to close in 5 days, and now you don't have a relationship because all you cared about was your rates, and then people are going to be like, I don't care about you. I'm not going to close in 5 days for you.
We've all found that the people that get the best results in their life are not focused on the tiny little things, right?
For sure.
How many people are like, oh, I can get an agent that'll do this, as in our world, we'll do this for 4.5%. I'm like, dude, I got an agent that'll do it for $500. You want it for cheaper?
Exactly.
Like, I've got
Let me give
somebody.
you their number.
I try to say I'm not for you then, because like I'm providing a certain service here, and
And I've
But
yet
I
to
get
just
it.
see wildly successful people have that as their primary,
It's a
methodology.
fool's errand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna earn the most money for the sale of your house, but I can't argue for my own.
Right.
That's right, I'm gonna give your money
My
away all
go-to
day long.
strategy is to just ask
Well, this
for
is the other
less.
thing, when you have a relationship with someone like you,
You give away money and then
and
you.
if you've done 5 or 10 deals with
That's a
me,
good way of phrasing
then the
it.
next one, if the numbers may be a little tight, but I'm confident enough because I have the experience, and you're like, not yet. I feel like, the numbers are like this, but because I've paid you, I've done 5, 10 deals, and the relationship is there. You're like, fine. I'm sure you have situations like that you make certain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many deals I regularly kill for people where it's like, and especially it's really early, like people early on where they're just trying to force a deal to work, and it's like,
Yeah, you have to kill it because you don't want them to be in and out of business within. 6
exactly. It's absolutely a mark of my success if there's repeat borrowers that are coming
Exactly.
back, and if you're a one and done, I failed you. For the most part.
Can you repeat, because I didn't write it down and I should have, what are the 4 things that for your DSCR loans in order to get that 1-to-1 ratio?
So the cost or the expenses on
Yeah.
the deal is your annual insurance premium, your annual property tax, whatever that
Was
is.
it the PIT, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, cool. And 1-to-1.
Yep.
And 7.75 if you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Please.
Somewhat related. How do you get your money? And, somebody sells their business and they've got $5-10 million, and they're just like, hey.
Bring it on
Do-
over.
So what kind of returns? He's asking what kind of returns do you give?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's where I'm headed
no.
for
This is.
this.
I really appreciate you saying this. So we have a private fund, a Reg D, SEC regulated fund that we've raised friends and family money in. It's really not institutional at all. It's just local, privately wealthy people that are accredited investors. You do have to be an accredited investor, and we gladly accept new investors. We have basically 2 times a year we're doing an investor summit. So we put a lot of effort into this. But as far as returns, they're definitely down. I'm not gonna lie to you, but today I think we have a 7% pref, and I want to say it's bouncing this year 7 to 8%. However, look back 12 to 18 months, and we were like 11 to 12, and we have gone as high as 16%. So just like anything, when times are a little tighter, things are a little tighter. But across the board, our investors love that it's a way to diversify even further across a ton of properties that are in our portfolio that are local. Like they can go and kick the tires on every single house that their money is backing, and so that's been really helpful for us. And then we are also, as a business, are cautious about leverage. So we're not the type of shop that's gone out and levered up our fund, 100%. And I think that is one thing, just totally off topic, but if you're looking to place money with a fund, you got to ask, how levered are they?
Yeah.
Are they selling their notes? Do they have do they secure all the servicing rights? Just what does the capital structure look like? So, yeah, we're really proud of the fund that we built, and we've got a lot of local investors that also
have,
partners.
lines at banks that you use, or is it exclusively through that fund?
We have, we have. We've done a little bit of that, but we're very risk averse to that. Danny and Leo, they saw in 2008 what can happen, and banks calling notes, and just all the chaos that came with that. And I think they were, they rightfully so. They were kind of scared straight, this is just not something we want to be involved with as a business model. And so, we have a very, very low risk model and get as much of the risk away from the business as we can, and just maintain relationships.
You lose control real fast.
Can a money guy 1031 into your,
Yeah.
into your,
Oh, 1031?
yeah.
1031, no.
Okay.
Yeah, IRA, you could do like self-directed stuff. But 1031, you'd have to buy individual
Yeah, you have to
properties.
take like property to like property, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
go investment to investment.
Because as a
Yeah, I
member
didn't know
of,
if there was some angle by which you could do that, with.
To avoid the tax.
Yes, yeah.
because essentially what's happening is by you putting money into the fund, you are now a partial owner of the fund. So you are a shareholder of the fund as an investor, and so it's just structured a little differently. The other thing, I really wanted to hit this before we wrap, going back to like the whole value add thing. The other thing that we really focus on is trying to build a community where people can source deals. So one thing that I feel like we do differently from a lot of other lenders is we have a kind of a sister business with a user-facing website. It's called OMDHQ. We market a ton of off-market properties, and so I think that's kind of like the gold today is like finding the properties. We have built a community where we encourage investors who have deals that maybe they can't take on because they're doing too many, but they want to offload it to another investor. Come bring it to us, we'll market it. And we're just marketing a lot of off-market deals, developers, investors, landlords trying to sell stuff that they don't want to put on market with an agent. We also have partnerships with like the largest wholesalers in the area, Market Pro Homes, Four Brothers. At one point we were working with Express. We don't do as much with them now, but so that's really nice to be able to go where you can see all of off-market deals. And so a lot of our loan officers are literally like, when somebody comes to us and says, hey, this is the geographic area I want to be in, this is the purchase price I want to have, they'll go and they'll find you potential deals and actually like work to put that together.
So you will fund those deals that you guys are.
So we're trying to just make it this all-inclusive ecosystem where we're like, hey, here's this deal, here's that, and you know.
OMDHQ?
OMDHQ,
What is that?
Off-Market Deals HQ.
Off-market deals HQ. Very cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just
that's a
search that
new
and do
twist.
it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of like one-stop shopping. It was freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, how do we just create more funnels of I mean, for us, it's a game of loans, obviously. Like, we're not charging to market, so it's just anybody can go to the
You're
site.
putting yourself in the flow of business.
And there's plenty of people that just buy cash, and we're like, okay, no worries, we'll get you on the next one.
Yeah.
But whoever another developer that we just helped market it for, they're going to come back and keep doing it, so it just builds on itself.
That's cool. That's a cool resource. Thank you for mentioning it.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to mention? Any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to do that. How do people find you? How can people who want to get access to you and your products and learn more, whatever, how do they find you?
I mean, really the best thing to do is just email. I live in my emails, it's on my phone, it's on my computer. But I can give you my phone number if you're so inclined. My email, just for anybody who wants to know, it's just my first name, Jared, Jared, at wcp.team, TEAM.
WCP.team, cool.
Yeah, and my cell phone, only anytime, 703-344-1733, and maybe I can work with you to send that after, something like that, but yeah.
Do that one more time, your phone number?
703-344-1733.
Jared, what's your email?
Yeah.
Jared, Jared at WPC.team.
WCP.team.
Perfect. Are we Facebook friends, bro? Are you on Facebook at all?
Facebook me.
I want to. I stay up with a lot of people that way.
Yeah,
It's easy
same.
for me.
Since having a family, it's
Add
kind of
friend.
an easy way to keep track of people. And
We only have 44 mutuals, so hopefully you'll accept. Okay, cool, guys.
this is really great.
Thanks,
Thank you so much for having me out.
No doubt.
Seriously.
I really appreciate you coming.
I enjoyed talking with everybody, and this was really nice.
Yeah, and you know we're in this room for right now, but we're not going to be in this room forever. If you have some folks that are out this way and like, dude, we just come out here, talk shop, network, meet some other people. There's deals get put together, pretty regularly in the room, kind of thing. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
a lender.
have a good number of friends that live in Haymarket and Gainesville that are interested in real estate, so I'm going to send them your way and see maybe if they can get into it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn off the Facebook and we'll connect, exchange information.